What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics and Biohacking. Thanks so much for being with me. Everything we put on this channel is brought to you by a couple of products. Here they are. Number one, we have a stack. It is called Cortex. It is a nootropic stack. I created Cortex basically to give myself performance. This was very many years ago, running a company just about 17, 18 hours a day. Increases motivation, mental energy, verbal fluency, the will to work, and drive. Formulated it in a pre-made stack. It is called Cortex. Mostly used by business people and productive people that just need a lot of brain energy, but can be used by anyone else. Cortex stack right now, 30% off, livecortex.com. Just use the coupon code 30. If you're looking to substantially bump your usage and your results with nootropics up to the 6-year mark, you have to go get the Nootropics Masterclass. It's a video course intended to do that I created. Right now, $55 even, no coupon code. Cheapest it's ever been. Go get it, livecortex.com. If you're a guy and need to raise tests, I mean, look, I tried every program out there and they all marginally worked, but nothing substantial. Had to create my own. It's called the Viking Testosterone Protocol. Get it at livecortex.com. 30% off right now using the coupon code 30. If you're new to nootropics, you guys know the routine. Nootropics Ground Zero. It's a video course that I created specifically for people that are new to take you to the 3-year mark. I mean, there's just so much information that it's going to save you 3 years of doing your research on your own and all that conflicting dose information on the web. Nootropics Ground Zero video course, 30% off using the coupon code 30. livecortex.com. Last couple things. If you're a business person and need enhanced cognitive function, really taking yourself to the super optimal mental performance level, this is my specialty. We work with people in this capacity. We have either the 1 month, the 3.5 month, or the 6-month intensive hands-on biohacking, results-driven nootropics consults for mental optimization. Go get those at livecortex.com. The 3.5 month and the 6-month consults apply to PSSD and post-benzo syndrome. If there's any question about what applies to your situation and if I can help, please email me, Ryan at livecortex.com. All right, so I'd like to quick discuss a biohack that I have found useful in the realm of nootropics, specifically with CDP Choline and the alpha-7 nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. Okay, so let me just give you a little bit of a preview. I have a book of experiments that pretty much every day, if I've got the time, I add to. And that book of experiments spans about 12 years. That's from the beginning of my usage on nootropics, like taking Alcar and alpha-GPC and paracetam, which was like my first stack, to some of the things that I'm messing with now. As you guys have seen in recent videos, I'm heavily on the dopaminergic side. For myself, it seems to be the target in a lot of disorders that I'm treating in a consulting capacity, and then for general kind of dopaminergic optimization, things like 9-MEBC, dynamine, bromotain, etc. In my book of experiments, however, and something I pull out every now and then as an acute working memory and general cognitive processing optimization strategy, is the strategy of optimizing a receptor site, the density specifically, so that the signal of the neurotransmitter hitting it is a little stronger in the acute period, and then taking something that's going to bind directly with that receptor. So you optimize the receptor, you tell it to work a little better, and then you take a nootropic compound that hits that receptor, and then you get a sort of an intensified result. Specifically, I want to talk about CDP choline and alpha-7 nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. Okay, so when CDP choline crosses into the blood-brain barrier, it's hitting the A7 acetylcholine receptors. We'll just call it those for short. Okay, that's one of the mechanisms of action of CDP choline, binding to those receptors, creating a cholinergic response, right? Because of the quantity of brain-usable acetylcholine. I mean, brain-usable acetylcholine is useless unless it's binding to specific receptors. Okay. CDP choline has a bunch of different mechanisms, so it also attempts to increase the receptor density at some dopamine sites, and then fosters a little bit of a release of epinephrine in brains. Okay, so but that's not relevant to what we're going to talk about. Specifically in its binding capacity to the alpha-7 nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. You know, basically, like, we don't often talk about some of these really, really finer details, but CDP choline is a pro-cognitive mechanism that is explained by the cholinergic agonism it's a selective agonist at the A7 site. The biohack and the interesting thing about it, and I'll direct you to a study that's called Greater Nicotinic Acetylcholine Receptor Density in Smokers Than in Non-Smokers, which is basically a study aimed to conclude or aimed to figure out whether or not nicotine has an effect on specifically those A7 nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. And the conclusion of it is it actually found a higher volume of distribution, 25 to 200% higher receptor density in smokers than in non-smokers. Okay, putting this all together, this doesn't mean that I suggest you smoke cigarettes, right, to get the nicotine. What it does mean, however, and this is something that a lot of you have been commenting on, like, should I use nicotine strips? Why don't you talk about that? I actually do have a pack of nicotine strips. They're oral strips, so they're essentially sublingual strips. Each of the strips contains, I think it's 2.5 milligrams of nicotine. And in my book of experiments, and every now and then, this might be every couple months or so, but it does work. I take a strip or two of nicotine, and then a half hour, 45 minutes later, I'll dose 70 to 100 milligrams of CDP choline. What you're doing here is you are increasing, again, the receptor density of the A7 nicotinic acetylcholine receptors and setting them up for a greater response to an agonist or selective partial agonist, in the case of CDP choline, of those receptor sites, okay? So the strategy is get some nicotine strips. They usually come in 2 or 2.5 milligrams. Dose 1 or 2 over the course of an hour. And then 30 to 45 minutes later, assuming that you have calculated the appropriate CDP choline dose for you, the one that you respond well to, in other words, that doesn't give you tiredness, because a sign of excessive acetylcholine binding is tiredness, take that dose and you should get a better response from it, okay? That is getting sort of into the God class of using nootropics. As you do things acutely, as we kind of talked about yesterday with 9-MEBC and bromontane and dynamine and caffeine, you sort of want to optimize the sensitivity of the nootropic you're taking by targeting specifically the receptor site that nootropic is hitting. Now, CDP choline is a really interesting compound because, look, it could be stacked with a bunch of things. It's actually in the cortex stack. But by itself, if you've got a great baseline, you wake up, drink some coffee, take some nicotine, optimize those receptors acutely, open them up, and then take CDP choline at the dose that fits you, you get a really, really awesome pro-cognitive benefit that enhances memory, focus, motivation in some cases, gives you a little energy because of the adrenaline releasing elements of it. And honestly, it's super simple, but it's a great biohack. Hope that makes sense. Just pulled that out of the book. People have been asking about me talking about nicotine for a while, and it just so happens that I do know a thing or two about it, have experimented with it before. And I hope that this sort of gives people some insight into the God class level nuanced approach when trying to induce pro-cognitive benefits with nootropics, right? Optimizing the receptor side, sending something that's an agonist, you get a better result. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Remember, Cortex Stack, right now, 30% off, livecortex.com. I mean, look, man, if you want a powerful motivation, mental energy, verbal fluency stack, it's the kind of stack that sometimes I take before doing these audios and doing videos. It just makes my brain work a lot faster, a lot more fluid, and even hours later, the fluidity stays. But the motivation is the real awesome part of it. Cortex Stack, 30% off, coupon code 30, livecortex.com. If you want to understand some of these nuances and really just get better results with nootropics, then get the Nootropics Masterclass. Right now, it's $55. No coupon code. Cheapest it's ever been. Started out at $119. livecortex.com video course Nootropics Masterclass. That thing will teach you a lot. If not just for fun, go get it. If you are new to nootropics, you have to start with Nootropics Ground Zero. You know, it's a video course that I created for people that are new to stop you from rummaging around the web with all this conflicting dose information and people saying, dose this super high or dose this super low, or here's the best dose. It's not about one dose for one person. It's about the nuances, but it's also about figuring out how to start using nootropics the right way. The efficient way. We teach you how. Nootropics Ground Zero, livecortex.com. 30% off using the coupon code 30. If you're a guy that needs to race test, can't say it enough, Viking Testosterone Protocol. Go get it. I will be in touch with you. We'll have a first call. We'll figure out your details. We'll do some fact finding, and then I will give you the protocol. Lastly, if you are a business person and need productivity, particularly through optimizing mental performance in a very extreme way. Get either the 1 month, the 3.5 month, or the 6 month intensive programs. These are hands-on, results-driven, frequent communication, biohacking consults where you're working directly with me to optimize the heck out of your brain function. Go do that at livecortex.com. The 3.5 month and the 6 month also apply to sexual dysfunction from SSRIs, a situation called PSSD. We can help you. We can help resolve it. We're sort of at the forefront of that. If there's any question about whether or not the 3.5 month, the 6 month apply to your situation as it relates to sexual issues from SSRIs or even post-benzo syndrome, please email me, Ryan at livecortex.com, and let's talk about it. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Talk to you next time.